A long season in the GT Sprint Challenge comes to an end today at Zolder. A fantastic season that's seen a different winner in every single round. May not be coming down to the wire, but many positions inside the top 10 still up for grabs. Hello, everybody, and welcome to RCI's presentation of the Friday GT Sprint Challenge. In its sixth season, in its season finale, I am Jesse Lee, of course, joined by, again, finally, by Les Stevenson. Les, welcome back.
And welcome, yeah, thank you for my welcome back. Yeah, it's been what seems an eternity. I've been away, but glad to be back and glad to have caught back up with what's going on. And yeah, it's no surprise to see some familiar names at the top there, but what looks like being a great championship so far.
Well, it certainly has been. It's kept us guessing. Or last week rather, at Paul Ricard was really the first nail in the coffin for the rest of the competitors. Before that, it was completely open for the majority of the time, and so many second places by Joe McCauley, and then finally the win. Grantis Caracas has been absolutely rock solid with the podium finishes up until Paul Ricard as well. It all paved the way for Joe McCauley to finally get a handle on this championship thus far. But I like a little bit of drama, Les. You know me. And Joe McCauley has had a rough practice session, went off many, many times in the pursuit of speed here.
He certainly seemed to have like you said, a bit of a rough session, but we all know what Joe can do, and no doubt he can pull it out of the bag when it's needed. And he just needs a solid finish tonight to what looks like a possible victory of the overall championship. But yeah, looking at the table, it just goes to prove consistency really does pay off, and you don't have to win every race. And yeah, it's looking good for Joe.
Looking very good for Joe. It's been a fantastic season for a lot of the drivers, and despite if Joe McCauley is your eventual champion, we suspect he might be, it's still up for grabs for second place. Honor Rose and Grantis Caracas has went head-to-head and toe-to-toe all season long with Joe, but unfortunately, it might prove just slightly a bridge too far. We'll show you the points championship after the conclusion of qualifying today. Speaking of which, we are doing that very thing. Let's talk about Zolder for a moment, Les. One of those tracks that punishes you for getting it even a little bit wrong.
Certainly does, and as we watch the Bentley, going over those lovely curbs there at the chicane, and it's one part of the track that I certainly really do struggle with, and of course another track that's it's also going to be a finale for the World Tour. But yeah, it is a punishing track when you get it wrong. You just can't afford to make any mistakes, and yes, but it is an exhilarating track at the same time.
It really is. There's a few tracks in ACC that give you the fizz, so to speak. And this is one of those for me because when you get it right, all is right in the world. I'm completely zen, yin and yang, all of that stuff. But when you get it wrong here, well, something else entirely. And also, track limits is going to play a huge factor today. People jumping the chicanes, and it's going to be a bit of a problem. Gregory Ivanov will be the first to set a lap. It's going to be a 27.705 for the 406. That's a decent starting lap. Everybody else will be looking to chase that. Rimbaud comes to the line. Cuts into second for the moment. Juna Savalainen up into P2. Savalainen, my goodness, the amount of demons that particular individual has around this track could fill an entire book.
I don't know about that, but if that's the case, then unlucky for them. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some very quick times around here tonight. And temperatures are good. Tracks are optimum, as we like to see, and certainly as a driver anyway. And yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a great race for tonight, as most of the races have been for this championship so far, Jesse.
Well, we mentioned Savalainen, and let me give you an insight on some of his stats, Les. This is going to hurt to hear. He's been leading here in GT3s. He's been leading here in Night Owl. He's been leading here at a GT4, and he's never won.
He's never won here, no?
As far as I'm aware, Savalainen has never closed the deal here.
Wow,
I could be wrong about that.
Well, tonight's the night that hopefully someone like like him can maybe change that fortune and look at maybe getting that win for the first time, and it'd be great for us all to witness that as well.
It sure will. He's going to have to go through Gregory Ivanov, though. Rose very briefly took the provisional pole. Ivanov, though, resets quick lap, a 27.355. That's really good. I suspect Ivanov will have a little bit more in the tank, but this is the driver we're all paying attention to. We're pretty much giving Joe McCauley the championship trophy for FFS Racing, but it isn't that simple. He still has to get points today to confirm the championship win, I do believe. So he has to qualify somewhat decently, you would hope, inside the front couple of rows, because otherwise, you know as well as I do, Les, this track can chew you up and spit you out, and so will the competition.
Yeah, but it is thankfully one of those tracks that we can see some overtaking on, and it does invite the very, very late breakers to seize those opportunities. And if he doesn't qualify too well tonight, it's not the end of the world. However, it just makes that task even more difficult. But as we see now, Joe goes and posts a 27.35, so takes him to the top.
Absolutely incredible stuff. That 27.350, that's 5/1000ths quicker than Ivanov was able to muster. 2 tenths behind the leader, McCauley now, Honor Rose and Savaline, and a further 6 tenths of a second. That'll tighten up. This track has that knack at the end of qualifying to tighten up. I think you will see that. A couple of cars, including Hugo Merrill's in the 13, Team VMS, has yet to set a lap that has counted, not for want of trying, but hopefully this time get a lap on the board, and indeed does. Goes P4, a 27.835. That's more like it.
Yeah, it's good to see a Ferrari up there as well in the top five. And as we now watch a Tidge trying to get a quick lap in here, and yet to post a time. So let's see if we can get this time on the board. And I would say most likely to be in that top 10, through history anyway. But I wouldn't be surprised if we can see that pole position come down that a little bit lower, maybe nearer towards maybe possibly even dip into the 26s. It's a tough task, but yeah, the times are certainly starting to tumble, and as we see Tidge there going to P3.
Smart man, that Les Stevenson knows his racing drivers. Martin Grady does go P3. I'm pretty sure as well, if you like stats out there, folks, pretty sure Martin Grady made his ACC debut, or at least his RCI ACC debut, here at Zolder, and it was interesting, we'll say the least. I think he got bounced around a little bit in that race, but ended up finishing higher than he ran. Good news for him. Good news for Chris Verstappen in the 747. The NSN Racing Bentley goes P5 with a lap of 27.625. Just as predicted, the lap times are coming down. Joe McCauley is in the pit lane, and I wonder if he's going to let that pole position ride.
Certainly looks that way, Jesse, doesn't it? And yeah, a bit of a shame to see him. It's sat in the pits, not maybe going for that last run, but yeah, it's so tight there at the top with a 5,000th of a second difference. But as we can see, Bentley is a strong car on this track. With we've got 3 Bentleys there in the top 5, and yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Grady here goes even quicker.
Martin Grady comes to the line. He was several tenths up, and he sure is. Crossing the line, a 27.225. Takes provisional pole from his sometimes teammate, Joe McCauley. Brilliant stuff, and he's going to get another one. McCauley's come out of the pit lane. McCauley might get another lap in, and I think that might have been triggered by Martin Grady going quicker.
It certainly looks that way. I mean, you don't want to be outdone by your teammate, do you? And yeah, it's great to see that competition there. And yeah, if he's coming out now, he's going to be cutting it close. But we all know Joe, he can pull out the bag right at the end, as always, and it wouldn't be surprised to see his time improve. But will it be good enough to beat Tidge?
That is the question. Martin Grady had an additional lap, but something must have went awry on that lap, because they have waved the proverbial white flag. They're back into the garage area. So is Keller and Magazi in 9th and 10th. A couple of cars coming to the line. Daniele Riccatelli in the 801 SPQ Racing Team goes P6, 27.790. Good enough for a top 10 starting spot. Not bad. And of course, all these laps count. And come to the line now, you get a freebie here at the end of the session. 40 seconds left to play.
Yeah, like I said, with the if you can get over that line now, you can. If you didn't quite improve, you've still got that one more lap to go, and there are a few people that are going to be able to do that. It's just a case of can they do it? That's the question. But as you said, Tidge is now back in the pit, so he's obviously abandoned that last run, and I don't think no Joe is coming around, isn't he? So yeah, let's see what they can do, and as we see the Ferrari now in P2.
Hugo Merrill's just set an incredible lap for Team VMS, and what a lap that was. 1/10 off of Grady. Certainly challenged Joe McCauley and Ivanov, who looked like the very early favorites. We haven't seen anything from Gregory Ivanov here in the past 5 minutes or so. Needs to pick up just a little over a tenth to get back to pole position. Man, has it tightened up. Remember when the first two were really close and then it was 6 tenths back to P2? It always seems to happen here in Belgium.
Certainly does, isn't it? And like you said, quite rightly so. The top, what's that? The top seven, gaps by only half a second. It's incredibly close, as you said. And as Ivanov crosses the line there and finishes P4 in qualifying.
Yeah, no improvement from Ivanov there, but wanted to finish out the lap because you just never know. Honor Rose, second place in the championship, will be racing today against Caracas and the like. Actually, is Caracas even here? I don't know, but Rose goes P5, a 27.407 for the Queen's Design 56 BMW. And that will conclude qualifying with Savalainen coming to the line in P7. Results of qualifying scrolling past your screen. Martin Grady, the quickest of all in Sector 2. Fastest lap, that 27.225. Hugo Merrils will take the outside pole in the number 13 Ferrari. Has no purple sectors. Joe McCauley was the fastest in the third sector. He'll start third, but Gregory Ivanov in fourth place will have the quickest first sector. I love parity. And of course, the rest of the qualifying results on your screen. Rose, Verstappen, Savalainen, Riccatelli, Payne, and Keys, your top 10.
Yeah, it just amazes me, Jesse, that the fastest lap was not all three sectors being the fastest for themselves, and it always does get me that it's so tight in qualifying. We often see all three sectors dominated by a different driver.
Well, you love that manufacturer parity you get in ACC. No one manufacturer is too OP for the other most of the time. Time to take a look one last time at your championship standings entering the final round today. Joe McCauley has converted three top two finishes and a win into a nice championship lead, 260 points. Honor Rose has one win on the season and some impressive finishes as well, 214 points. Gratis Caracas comes into this race P3 in points, 212, but that driver is not with us this evening. They will fall down the order surely. Albin Bouquet, the French driver, with 183, 1 point in front of Juna Savalainen for that spot. 162 points for Hugo Merrils, who qualified P2 today. Gregory Ivanov, 141 points. Ben Keys in that famous, fantastic, and fan favorite GTR, 139 points. Joshua Allen on 129. Martin Lawrence, the Czech driver, with 112, rounds out your top 10. Outside the top 10, scrapping for every last point. Daniele Riccatelli on 96, Barzaghi 93, Thomas Jack on 77, Rafael Malo on 70, Christoph Verstreppen 68 points to Grant Willemot's 66, who's tied with Nicholas Keller for that position. Xavier Rimbald with 61 points, Wouter Billen on 59, IB Atta rounds out the top 20 with outside the top 20, Hladky with 54, tied with Rudy Philmalter. Benedetti on 49. Killian with 46, tied with Jan Klimes. Barnett with 44. Giorgio Magazzi on 38. Martin Grady, the Tidge, with 38 points. Simon Mazzola on 36. And Max Payne is your top 30 with 31 points. Coming down to the final few positions. Mark Batista with 25 points. The only other driver with points, every driver with a dash, has resigned from the championship. Well, the championship points are very close for a couple of positions, Les, and by a couple, I mean pretty much everybody has paired off at this point, Noah's Ark style, and they're racing somebody. You got to feel bad for Honor Rose. Was looking forward to that battle with Caracas, surely. Of course, Caracas will use his drop round for this particular race, I'm pretty sure. And we'll see how that falls where it may. But even still, would like to have seen a head to head battle here.
Yeah, no doubt. But let's not discount Anor here. We mean, let's be honest. Joe can still lose this championship, and if Anor can win the race and Joe not finish at all, then it's still a possibility, isn't it? I mean, that's what makes these championships so great. Yes, unfortunately, we haven't got that battle for second and third like we thought we would, but there's still battles all over the grid, and yeah, no, it's good to see, and I still think we're in for a great race, Jesse.
We absolutely are going to be, of course. And about that math Les was talking about, I have been doing the maths, as you might expect. It's 56 points between Joe McCauley and Honor Rose. What does that mean? Well, it means that Joe is actually in the hot seat, whether he would think about it that way or not. He's already used his drop round for Alton Park. He wasn't there that weekend. That will, even if he finishes poorly today, a sign out will always trump that. So if Joe finishes far enough back in the pack, maybe doesn't get enough points or get any points, or maybe doesn't finish 80 to 85% of the race, which is required to get points in this series, he'll get nothing. If Rose is able to just finish second at that point, Honor Rose would win this championship. Joe McCauley still has work to do. You can get a maximum 72 points a weekend. That's for having the fastest lap in qualifying. Obviously, qualifying on pole, the fastest lap in the race as well, and winning gets you 72 points. Joe did not qualify on pole. He hasn't got max points this weekend. It's still a toss-up. Joe still has to perform today, Les.
Certainly does, and I'm sure Joe will always aim to perform every week, and just like every other driver on that grid, they're always out there. They're out there for one thing, and that's to win a race, and hopefully at the end of it, win a championship. But certainly tonight, it's looking like it's going to be a great race, like we've already mentioned. And that qualifying was such a close qualifying. We really are going to be in for probably quite a train of cars, and it's all going to be about, in my eyes, probably who can ride those curves the best, but also who's the last of the outbreakers.
Well, you certainly don't want to be the kind of driver that outbreaks themselves. That can only end one of two ways. You're either going to get into somebody or you're going to send yourself wide. Track limit's always an issue here. If you jump the curbs too much, if you drive straight through the chicane, that's going to be track limits. You get 3 of those, and on the 4th time asking, you will get an automatic ACC assigned drive-through penalty. And talking about contact, this is a track that invites contact. It is a track you can get passes done, but it is a place you can also inadvertently make contact doing it. Luckily, we're covered in that case, as we always are here on Friday. A welcome in, very early welcome in to our live stewards, our armada of stewards who are here today to make sure the proceedings go smoothly and fairly tonight. I suspect they might have pretty decent workload.
I'm with you on that one, Jesse. I would have thought that they are going to be busy tonight, and as we always say, it's rather them than me. I don't know how they do the job, but fair play to them, and we must thank our stewards for the job that they do throughout the season. But going back to the race, as we look at this lovely green Audi, driven by, I think this is Rudy Philmolter, and but yes, as we look at the grid here, it's it's certainly, to me, it's gonna be an exciting race. There's no two ways about that, and I think strategy will always play a part, and certainly tonight is no different. But I'm just wondering what your predictions are here, Jesse.
Well, I think that it's going to be very close. I don't know if Martin Grady is going to be able to hold on to it. As much as I love the Tidge, the king of the plebs, I call him, I don't know. They got some fast drivers behind them. And of course, also the pit stop as well coming up in the race. Man, I might give it to Ivanov, honestly.
Well, you've stolen my pick. I was going to say the same. Yeah, okay, all right. Let's agree. Let's agree.
We don't have to disagree.
Let's just hope we haven't put the curse on Ivanov, yeah?
Oh no, I didn't even think about that. The ever-present commentator's curse. I want to bring up a interesting anecdote in the interim here. Lovely man behind the cameras. Didn't introduce him. I do apologize to Stewie, the man behind the cameras, as always with us, has been with us all season. Big thank you to him for putting on this production. And he walks down the grid in his own special way every single race. You know, it's a Stewie production whenever he takes the camera down the pit lane. Well, I was his sort of pseudo spotter yesterday for a race he was doing on the Thursday championship, and I thought it was funny. I did the very same thing, and I was like, Dad, look at me. It's a bit like putting on your father's shoes, isn't it? Something like that. I'm not nearly as good of a cameraman as he is, but it was fun. It was fun to pretend.
No, he's excellent what he does, and we do thanks Stewie as always for the broadcasts and bringing those live pictures to us and to everyone else that's watching. And what's, like we said, is going to be what it should be a fantastic race. But yeah, let's see if Tidge can hold them back and you know, and can ride these curves like this Bentley can. And yeah, I'm predicting a tight race, and like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if strategy plays its part.
Well, will strategy play itself out in the pit lane? That's the big question. I think that might have a huge impact on today's race, on who ends up winning and losing. We've seen Joe McCauley lose the opportunity on a couple of occasions to contest wins by virtue of having a slow pit stop. The way pit stops work in ACC, quite different indeed from a lot of other sims. If you don't hit your pit stop sign perfectly, they will your pit crew will take their leisurely time to back you up in the correct position to put you up on the jacks and get you serviced, and that has bitten this man a couple of times this season.
Unfortunately, I've fallen foul to that mistake myself, and you know, just as recent in the British GT Masters, you know, overshot my pit box and expecting the guys to push me back into the pit box, but they don't. You've got to reverse, and I made that costly mistake, and so obviously Joe has done too. But yeah, no, it's stopping in those pits is a difficult thing. You know, when you're in the moment, you know, you're under pressure, and that's what, you know, that's how people win these races half the time is through the pits. So if you can get it done in good fashion, and you stand good for a good race.
Well, we started the season with 40-plus cars. We're going to end the season with 20-plus cars around Zolder. One race to decide a champion. On the front row, you have Martin Grady, the Tidge, and, of course, Hugo Merrill's. Who will it be into turn one? The green flag out for the final time in the GT Sprint Challenge, and it's a very nice start from the Tidge. Down the inside is going to get clear of the Ferrari. Side by side, Joe McCauley and Hugo Merrill's fighting over second place. Do they sort it out? Only just. Relenting just for a moment. Too wide further back for third and fourth place. As everybody fans out, there's still 2x2 in the back.
Yeah, great start, great clean start, like you said, and Tidge leading the field out to that deadly chicane, and yeah, I think that was Joe staying in third, wasn't it? And behind the Ferrari with Merlers, and yeah, as we go into the chicane now.
Brilliant stuff as they come through the chicane. No major incidents to speak of at this moment. Everybody has pretty much made it away cleanly. One of the cleanest starts we've ever seen here at Zolder, and they were fighting for it, folks. They were 2x2, but very little consequential contact. I can't wait for the stewards to correct us on that. One car off in the background. Was that Ivanov or Verstappen? It was Ivanov. Verstappen going around the outside. Let's replay, see what happened. Following Joe McCauley, just gets it a bit wrong. Ivanov comes back, but you're going to see on the left, there was Verstappen coming through. Did he make the pass? I don't think he did. There he is. Rose going around the outside. The final chicane gets bumped off. Does Ivanov? Verstappen will yield, but oh my goodness, that has done nothing but bottle up Honor Rose. Honor Rose and Savalainen make contact.
Yeah, that was extremely close, and how I just hope that Ivanov wasn't getting a drive cut there through the track, and that he doesn't get a penalty later on because of it. But I know Royce has really suffered with that battle, and is now falling back as far what looks like P7.
Rose is free falling through the field. Ben Keys is going to lose at least 4 or 5 positions. Got off into the dirt in the exit of turn 2, and that bunched everybody up in that one little moment. That moment that Ivanov and Verstappen got side by side created all of that, in my opinion. That got Savalainen and Rose involved, and now, unfortunately, has sent Ben Keys off as well. Incredible, unfortunate driving, and we didn't really talk about it, but we should talk about it. The chicanes here can be deadly depending on what manufacturer you're driving for. The clearance tolerances on some of these cars not as great as the other, and especially if you're in a McLaren, it can be a bit detrimental, none of which played a factor in any of the offings we saw just a moment ago.
But it also just goes to prove, with a field that is close as what it is, when you lose momentum, it really is that costly. And in Orosai, falling down as many positions as she did, and now down to P8.
Well, that was a nightmarish. It looked like Rose might have had a shot at P4 there for a moment, but wow, is that Ben Keys? That is Ben Keys already going in for the pit stop. The pit window is open, and that will allow Keys to go through. The amber number 1 beside the number box of the car indicates that there is a pit stop to give for all the teams. The requirements, I believe, is 1 liter of fuel, but you are required to be stopped in your box for 25 seconds. No doubt a lot of these teams will have short-filled their car knowing that, well, I've got to give up 25 seconds anyway. Might as well put the fuel in the car and drive it lighter at the start. And, of course, an additional 5 seconds on pit road past the required 25. So a 30-minute stop gets you a fresh set of boots. Might that be tempting today, Les?
I certainly think it might well be tempting, and I think Ben Keys is probably thinking about doing that himself right now, and taking that opportunity of pitting early. Had that incident, let's pit early, gain some time back, hopefully with a bit of clear track, and and then can gain some time back, hopefully with a bit of clear track, and and then can, as we see, almost contact there with the Ferrari and the Porsche. And again, with that chicane, it's like you said, it's the deadly chicanes, and I just hope that when people trying to avert these incidents, that they're not giving themselves track cut warnings, and then potentially towards the end of the race, maybe give themselves a penalty.
Rose completely sideways coming out of the hairpin. That might lose them a spot to Giorgio Magazzi. Actually, that's not Magazzi they're losing a spot to. Is that Mazzola in the 116 BMW that Rose is losing a spot to? That was 2 for 1 for Mazzola.
Certainly looked like that, yes. And see,
there was contact.
There was contact, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Anor Rose, come and do an early pit now. Maybe thinking, cause there's something not quite right at the moment with the pink BMW, and it's certainly not as good as what it was in qualifying. I don't know whether maybe the mojo and the momentum's been lost at the moment, but it might be sort of time maybe to think maybe pit early, get reset button, new fresh tyres. Let's see what goes on, but certainly falling back.
Ben Keys became the first driver to pit. The 904 Nissan GTR has completed their stop without further incident. Rudy Philmalter in the 946 Audi. That car is in the pit lane now as well. Those are our first 2 pitters. Keep in mind, they can pit anytime inside the window. It's when it's most advantageous for them. This is Joe McCauley on Hugo Merrill's around the outside. There's no way, surely, but he's going to do it. Look. Joe McCauley is going to take that spot away from Hugo Merrill's and jump himself in to second place. Incredible pass.
Yeah, great move, forcing his way through. I mean, I must admit, I think the Ferrari was just a little bit lenient there and allowing a bit more space than maybe could have been given. But maybe good, safe racing is the way forward to maybe be there at the end. We all know how Joe likes to push it. You just don't know. It could be a penalty before you know it, and then at Merlis we'll get the position back. But we're back on board with Anor Rose, and like I said, back down to P9. Hasn't decided to take that early pit though, Jesse, like I thought.
No, you must wonder what's going through the mind of Anor Rose. A penny for her thoughts, surely at this point, has absolutely, by anybody's measure, been roughed up to start this race. And that's not what Rose thought was going to happen. That's not what I thought was going to happen, especially with how well that lap 1 ended. But, man, down the order has some work to do here. And we'll see just how far back up the field Rose can get. All starts with this pass. Got to get by Mazzola again. Keep in mind, Mazzola made contact with Rose and then made the pass after the fact. You wonder how annoyed Rose might be, or if the stewards will take any eye on that. We saw a pass earlier, too, I thought was quite interesting. Grant Willimon, I think, passed Thomas Jack in the 133. We saw that live. And I wonder, for the stewards' taste, if Grant Willimon extended track limits to make that pass off the track. They will not like that very much if that was the case. But either way, we continue racing. No cars backwards yet. I'm going to count that as a win.
I certainly would count that as a win. I think it's been a great start by the field and a great clean race. Now it's been the odd little bump here and there, and but just going back to Enel Rhodes, I'm wondering now. I wonder if maybe Enel has gone, with a full tank, or near to a full tank, and maybe just pitting right at the end, and maybe that's why she's just a little bit off the pace as where she might have been before. Maybe that's the strategy that she's called, and that could still be a winning strategy, but. Certainly looks like the car's riding the bumps well, and let's just see what happens. So, I mean, it's still early on, 52 minutes remaining, but yeah, it's been a great start. It really has.
Well, of course, we're reading chat as we always are. We're seeing you cheering for your favorite teams and drivers. We love to see that. There's some excellent support for SPQ Racing and some support for the Queen's Design Bunch as well. You love to see it. And the drivers, they can't hear it. They don't know it, but I'm sure they appreciate it as well. And, well, what would racing be without fandom, surely? What happened to Daniele Riccatelli? There's going to be contact here. Riccatelli goes a little bit wide. Oh, okay. They were slow after missing the chicane there is what was going on with that. What I was talking about with the pit stop earlier, Les, is obviously, they can pit any time in the window. It's a 25-second mandatory stop as per the rules of this race. And on top of that, 5 more seconds gives you tires. If you are a Nora Rose, I think you might be onto something. I think that Queen's Design BMW is on a full tank and cannot deviate from the strategy, lest their entire race gets blown apart even more than it is. Do they take tires? I don't know. But some of these other cars that have short-filled surely might be thinking about it.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. I don't think going the full tank sort of route would be wise to take tyres at the end. You're looking to go as long as possible. Cutting that window right at the end, and they all try, flashing the lights now. Whether she's annoyed or whether she's just trying to distract the SPQ car in front. I mean, what a name! I just love that name, Daniele Riccatelli. I mean, what a rhyme to it. But yeah, no, she's obviously just trying to get into the head of Daniele, and and doing well at it by the looks of things. But yeah, like you said, hitting the nail on the head there. If they do go long, they're not. I would have thought no tyres.
Daniele Riccatelli sounds like a legitimate GT sports car racer, doesn't it? It just fits. It's a perfect name, like Blake Speedman for a NASCAR driver. It just makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, unlike Les Stevenson, what were my parents thinking of?
I think Les is an absolutely fitting name. It's a brilliant name, and it's a regal name, and I will not have you disparaging your parents on this broadcast. Nora Rose is trying, I think, vehemently to get around Riccatelli. I think that flash was, hey, you're obviously losing time. Don't lose me any more time than I already have. Grant Willimot, by the way, a lap ago, you saw the 316 Ferrari. That car pitted and has completed their stop. No issues on pit road today, but just a reminder of something that has been consistent throughout the season. We've seen issues on pit lane. Speeding in the pit lane very minorly will get you a drive-through. Speeding marginally will get you a stop and go. Speeding majorly might even lead to a disqualification, but we here at RCI do not recognize a disqualification for speeding in the pit lanes. We remove the disqualification and give them a stop and go 30 instead, which is the way the penalty used to be assigned automatically by ACC. We've seen quite a bit of those kind of penalties on pit road. We've seen a lot of track limits. Thus far, though, knock on wood, we haven't seen any of that, but Honora Rose going for a move around the outside. You might have saw Joe McCauley do it, says, I can do that too, and she can!
That was all because of the previous chicane. Just was able to ride that chicane better. The Porsche really got unsettled on the exit of that chicane and lost its momentum, and Einor was able to make that pass into the next chicane.
Our chat's absolutely going nuts. They're just cheering on every single driver in the field. I see you, chat. I think it's very, very humorous indeed. But what a pass that Queen's Design was able to pull off. I think that was set up. And as a driver behind another car, you know as good as I do, Les, you set them up, you study them for a little bit, and you try to figure out where they're weakest. You try to exploit that. I think we saw that right there. I think we saw Joe McCauley do that to Hugo a few laps ago as well, where you just got to set them up and you got to take runs. A lot of this track is momentum and runs. If somebody gets a bad exit out of a chicane, that's really your best shot at taking a shot at them and getting the overtake. We've seen a couple of those excellently executed thus far.
Was and like you said, this track is all about momentum and trying to eye up the opposition and see where they're weak, where they're strong, and then make that move and make it possibility when when they're gonna, like anyone was studying. Like you said, was studying Riccatelli and watching that Porsche struggle over the curves, and she knew what she was doing and waited for a moment and got close enough and used that momentum to get past.
I can tell you the 946 has had an incident exiting the first chicane, and that car has retired to the garage door down on the 946. They will take no further part in the finale today, and penalties coming out from the stewards box, and they read as such. Lap 1 turn 4, the 133 and the 116 racing incident. Lap 1 turn 5, the 946 and the 505 racing incident. Lap 1 turn 10 between the 747 and the 406. Warning for car 747 for causing avoidable contact. Lap 2 turn 1 involving the 56 of Rose and the 200 of Savalainen. 5-second penalty for car 200 for forcing the 56 off of the racetrack. Lap 2 turn 2 involving the 747 and the 406. Racing incident for minor contact deemed hard racing. Lap 2 turn 11 involving the 133 and the 27. 5-second penalty for the car 27, forcing the 133 off track, forcing them to go wide through turn 11. Position not returned. Racing incident for the 133 and the 27 on a following corner on the same lap. Stewart's working hard, Les.
Anyhow, and I hate to say I'm repeating myself, but fair play to him. I couldn't do that job, but no real shockers there. 5-second penalties to both the 27 and the 200, and we saw the incidents and we knew something was probably coming, but we just didn't quite know how bad. But 5 seconds penalties, not the end of the world. It could be used. It'll be taken during the pits, as they haven't taken their pit stop just yet. So it'll be 5 seconds extra in the pit. So just like taking tyres.
Yeah, and I wonder what that does to strategy. If some of these cars were thinking about taking tires now, maybe they won't be, because that extra 5 seconds they were willing to spend will be sat in the box with no work being done. Bear in mind, you have to take, if you have a stop to give, which almost everybody does except Keys and Willamont, you have to take that 5-second penalty on your next pit stop. You can't elect to not take it at this stage, which means that you when you're in the pit lane, after your stop is complete, you're going to be sitting stationary for 5 additional seconds. It would be the same if it was a 15-second penalty, etc. But you don't have to come down pit road a separate time, which is the better part of that. A 5-second penalty for those contacts, I feel like that is getting off incredibly lightly. And I don't mean that the stewards are being soft. I just mean that that was the best case scenario for that situation. And yeah, and of course also, if they would get a penalty after the pit stops were completed, well, then it's just added to the end of the race.
Exactly, and like you said, I think it's best case scenario for what was a bad situation. But as we we're looking further up the field, you can see Joe is now he's setting the fastest time. We've got only a second now between him and Tidge, and that gap has been closing. It did go down to as far as close as 6/10, I think, at one point, but Tidge just keeping that gap healthy 1 second, keeping him honest, and it's going to be. Joe's not holding up, is he? I honestly thought he'd just go for the points finish and be done with it, but no, he wants that win.
Joe doesn't do anything 90%. If you've ever been in a chat with the man, he is 100% all of the time. A proud Scotsman and a proud racing driver here in RCI as well. A character, I think we would call him in America. He's a character and a fun guy to be around, but he is not going to let Martin Grady have this. And you heard me right earlier. These guys are teammates in the RCI World Tour. They raced together. They had an excellent race at Barcelona. It didn't look like it was going to go well at the 6 hours of Barcelona a week or so ago, but my goodness, did they pull through and get a decent finish out of it? Just the two of these drivers on that team, but they're not friends and they're not teammates today.
Certainly not, but yeah, it's just it's yeah, they know each other very well. They know what the strengths and weaknesses are in with along with racing with each other. But when they're racing in this series, there's no love lost, and they will be fighting to the end, and it's all about getting that one over on your teammate. And yeah, it like I said, I can see this going all the way to the end, and it definitely looks like Joe has the car in the last sector compared to Tidge, and then Tidge seems to pull it back out. It looks like in the middle sector, of course, over those curbs.
Well, I wonder what kind of move Joe McCauley is willing to put on his friend Martin Grady, and I wonder what kind of blocks Martin Grady is willing to put on Joe McCauley. Now, we don't see Martin Grady drive very defensively a lot of the time, but a couple of factors that might lead him into doing that. Of course, leading the race, you're chasing a win in the season, a season that has not particularly gone Martin Grady's way. Joe McCauley doesn't need at this stage to win this race. Would Grady think about putting a block on his teammate? I think he might do. And even if it wasn't for that, they could probably be racing for 18th, and I reckon they would do it kind of cheekily.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. And it's that's just what they're all about. But no, it's a shame we're now down to 17 cars. But unfortunately, it looks like there's been some incidences, and they've had to retire. But yeah, they're still going strong. We've got battles all over the field. I mean, we look down as far as P10, although they got the 5-second penalty. They are very close to the back of Zolder there in the 116. And like I said, there are quite a few battles, and we look at Atta here on the back of Max Payne. But yeah, it's good to see. Still got 40 minutes to go. There's still a lot of people left to. In fact, all but one person left to still pit, Jesse.
Yeah, pretty much. We've had an additional retirement. I am afraid that I have forgotten what car that was. Was that Grant Willemont's car, that Ferrari that is retired? I think that is the most recent retirement. That car had pitted, unknown why they would have retired, but 17 cars left in the race, but the majority of those cars still well and truly in it with a shot at a good finish today. Joe continues to chase Martin Grady. Hugo Merrils holds on to a very small lead over Gregory Ivanov for P3. All the podium spots in doubt right now. We continue to look at some of the penalties coming through. I noticed Savalainen has a drive-through. Going to take a look at the penalty report, and it's not showing up on my penalty report. So Savalainen, who I started qualifying by saying has the worst luck here at Zolder, it has bit him again. Folks, that is not a steward-assigned drive-through penalty. That is ACC assigned, which means he has extended track limits 3 times and then a 4th time. And on the 4th time asking, he's been given a drive-through penalty.
We knew it was coming. You just didn't know which drivers were going to be taking that drive-through, and it won't be the last, Jesse. I'm sure of it. But yeah, it's such a shame, and he really does have bad luck here, doesn't he, Savalainen? And it continues. And yeah, with that drive-through, it's really going to hurt. A drive-through plus a pit stop left to do. That's probably going to be outside the top 10.
Obviously, you cannot serve a drive-through the same way you would a 5-second penalty. You have to come down pit lane 2 times, once for the drive-through, then for your pit stop to complete that. So 2 passes down pit lane is not advantageous to a good finish. A couple more things that have come through since the last we talked about penalties. Lap 2, turn 15, 3:16.904, racing incident, minor contact. Lap 3, turn 11, 3:29 and 3:16, racing incident. Both cars had gone off track. Lap 3, turn 14, involving the 56 and the 134. No further action. The 134 causes contact, loses a position.
No,
what did you see there,
Jesse? Savalainen's bad luck continues. He's gone to serve the drive-through, and then what looks like he's sped into pit lane or out of pit lane and given himself a stop go 30.
absolutely horrid day. And Savalainen, who has exercised so many of his demons here in the RCI TV network over the past 3 months, winning at places that he had struggled at, closing races, getting the fuel strategy right. He's run out of fuel before, has Savalainen. He won't be able to do that here at Zolder. The demons shall remain for another day with that stop and go 30. That is just gutting.
That's like the worst penalty that ACC gives. I mean, stop go 30. It's not. It's bad enough driving through the pit lane to take tyres, let alone having to sit there for 30 seconds and then knowing you've got to do it all again to do your mandatory pit stop. It really is gutting, and like we said, the bad luck continues.
Well, what I will say is that makes Honor Rose a little bit more happy because you remember the contact earlier. It's almost karma if you ask her, I bet. But going back to the penalty report, the 56 and the 137, no further action. And the final thing, lap 6, turn 11, the 116 and the 56 racing incident minor contact. The stewards have contacted us and said, despite being a steward down and having a lot to look through in the opening couple laps, they are just about managing. Well done, you.
Yeah, well done indeed, and it just goes to prove how clean our start was. I mean, it was, considering what we're used to at this track with the starts that we've seen previous. Even with having to restart races because of poor starting procedures, and no, it was great stuff to see, and extremely clean, and great stuff from the stewards to get those incidents cleared down and be able to enjoy the race themselves.
Well, one thing we haven't talked about today is the weather, and that's simply because there's nothing to talk about. It's absolutely gorgeous. 28 degrees C on the track, 21 ambient. It's t-shirt weather, I would say. Track's been optimum the entire time with only the occasional clouds and just the light breeze to speak of. It's the picture perfect way to end a championship. No wild cards here, no rain in sight, and we shan't ask for any to the end. Keller and Jack have been in, the 27 and the 133 respectively. They have come in just shy of the halfway point, and that reeks of pit strategy to me.
Yeah, it certainly does, doesn't it? And as we look at the leaders now, I mean, it's still extremely close. With almost like Joe sort of toying with Martin here, just to make him feel like he's under real pressure. I don't know. I'm sure it's not, but it just looks like it, doesn't it? I mean, to be within half a second again, it's. It just looks like it's inevitable at some point that Joe's going to make the move, and it looks like it's spicing up.
Well, getting closer all the time. It was 6/10 last we looked. It's now under 4/10, and you can't get too much closer here without inviting contact. Two different cars are going to drive differently. One's going to obviously outbrake the other in this instance. Two different kind of configurations as well. A front-engined Bentley and, of course, a mid-engined Audi. And the lights flashing on Joe McCauley. Martin Grady will care very little about Joe McCauley's disco ball headlights.
Sure he will not care. He knows the tactics. He wouldn't be surprised to see Joe there, just showing the nose, just saying to Martin, "Look here, I'm here. I'm ready to take that position."
What a cut that was! I think Joe was going to try to fake him down the inside, and at the exact same time, Martin Grady thought, "Oh, he's going to try and go around my outside." I bet it immediately hard right, snake to the pit lane wall. And neither one was correct. There wasn't any overlap. Couldn't get it done there. We'll reset and we'll try it again. Go for round two. We ride on board the FFS Racing Audi of Joe McCauley in pursuit of the Yellow Submarine, also known as the Tidge Bentley. And there's lap traffic up in front here.
And it's certainly going to add towards the spice, but Joe's really using that flashing button quite a lot now, and he's just tried everything really to put off Tidge, but we all know what Tidge is like. The custom racer that he is. I'm sure that a flashing of the lights and a quick show of the nose is not really going to put him off. But Joe will try everything in his power, just like any one of us would, and to try and put him off.
Martin Grady, one of the world's best racing drivers at Gran Turismo, he will have had a flashing button in that game as well. He knows all about that, and he also knows about high pressure situations, because those races typically only last 20 minutes at most a lot of the time. And it's just a pressure cooker. He is not going to crack under the pressure. He will care very little about the flashing lights. He's just going to go about his merry way. But McCauley, after that one move, it took him the entire lap to catch back up and put himself in a position to attempt the pass again. We talked to you briefly about this a moment ago. Gregory Ivanov in P4. That's Hugo Merrill's in front in the 13 Ferrari. This is the battle for P3. And they've been just about this distance apart for quite some time. Rose, who has made it back up to P5, actually, we're going to pay attention to this, folks, might be closing this group down. 8.1 seconds the gap, Rose to Ivanov. We'll keep you posted on that.
Again, it could be, we're something approaching halfway through the race. Could be a bit of tyre degradation. You don't know. I mean, the BMW is quite good on its tyres. I'm not entirely certain what the Bentleys and the Ferrari is like, but around here. But these temperatures are certainly going to help that BMW, and no real surprise to hear you say that she's closing down the gap.
Keep monitoring that. Keep monitoring this fight for the lead. Joe McCauley does not need to win this race today. All of Joe's competitors have had issues today except McCauley. McCauley has been eyes forward since the green flag, and here it is, the strategic move just shy of the halfway point. FFS Racing's Joe McCauley will come down the pit lane as they got right up to the back of Martin Grady. Could this be a race-winning move? Could the race be won or lost here on this pit stop? We will have to see. Hugo Merrill's comes in from P3 as well. I also think that was the right call. Both of these cars in right at the halfway point. Does this trigger a response from Grady and Ivanov, I wonder?
Exactly, who knows? And we'll have to wait and see. But again, strategy taking its toll, and let's see if the undercut works. I suppose it all depends on that strategy of do they take tyres or not. I'm suspecting probably no tyres at this stage, but be pitting halfway through the race, again, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's 50-50, isn't it? You could take tyres and still make up that time. It's only another 5 seconds, but we all know Joe will try anything for the win, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's no tyres.
BRT Cobra asked in chat, is this on console? No, this is absolutely on PC, and if memory serves, the settings are completely maxed, and I think what you're seeing is the mid-afternoon sun glinting off of some of the cars, and I believe that's what you're seeing there. And also, somebody else has said that I remind them of an AMA motocross commentator. I was going for monster truck, but I'll take it. Martin Grady coming in. I think that's an excellent response, not going to allow Joe McCauley to gain any overlap here. Martin Grady, though, has to be perfect on this stop.
I was about to say he has to be perfect. He cannot afford to make a mistake in this pit lane, and it's that mind game. Did Joe take tyres? I don't know for definite. Did he? Tidge won't know that. Is he going to take tyres? Probably not. He doesn't want to take that risk. He wants track position, and it'd just be intriguing now to see how it pans out and what happens when he comes out those pits.
The race is on. Who would have ever thought the race would be on when one car was stationary? But that is so often how these 1 hour races come to pass. Two of the greatest going at it head to head. Will Martin Grady get out before this man, Joe McCauley, comes back around? Several other cars are in. Honor Rose came in with Martin Grady. And here comes McCauley, the final chicane. Just now moving is the 18 of Martin Grady. It is a long, winding pit lane, but once you get to this line on the exit, you can go back full throttle, though you do have to brake here in between the two sets of Armco. Joe McCauley is going to come and flash under our commentary position, but it's already too late. It's too late because it looks like, yes, Martin Grady is way out in front. He did nothing but gain time.
Yeah, but it's we've been told by a broadcaster it's 2 seconds faster in the pit, so unfortunately we still don't know whether it was tyres taken or not. And either way, though, he's done a great job there, and to be 2.5 seconds quicker on his stop has made the difference, and he's way out in front.
Wow, that was, who knows, maybe that's the winning move. Keep in mind how long it actually took Joe to catch Martin Grady the first time, and of course I know that McCauley was coming through traffic when he did that, but even still, Martin Grady is no snail out there. So could this be a, oh, dare I say it? I will say it. Might this come down to the final few laps?
It would not surprise me, Jesse, and it's got all the hallmarks of a great finish, and it's great to see P3 and P4 right up there with them. It's that's the top four, well, net top four anyway. So close together. It's looking great.
Ivanov leads the race in the 406 Bentley, still has a pit stop to give. Riccatelli in the pit lane, so is Mazzola and Max Payne. IB Atta cycles through into P2. There'll only be two cars that have yet to pit in this race as the leaders flash by and gain the positions on the cars in the pit lane. Now, do keep attention to, remember, we were watching Honora Rose. We were watching all the cars around them. And of course, Hugo Merrils has come out in front of Verstappen in the 747. And that has moved Honora Rose behind Verstappen again. So we'll see how the rest of them come through. Yes, it looks like for the moment, Hugo has also gained a tiny bit of time.
It's a little bit tricky at the moment with the delta's just refreshing, but it's looking incredibly close. I think Enor's made up quite a lot of time there in that pit stop to close this gap down, but a little bit tricky to tell at the moment. But it's looking good anyway, and really clawing out those positions back, and it's great to see. And maybe maybe we got it completely wrong there. Well, we obviously got it completely wrong there, didn't we, with Enor Rose with the pit strategy, and with still 26 remaining. Pitted already. That's that theory out the window.
Well, I wonder if maybe she just thought, well, I've got speed in the car. I know I can make these passes. And to her credit, she absolutely did. Gained several spots. She was back in 9th at one point, I'm pretty sure. So positions were gained, and thought that, it's not worth changing my strategy at this point. And obviously would have had damage from that, but must have not been anywhere near consequential for them. Jan Climbs trying to go around the outside, is going to sell him the dummy and then do the switchback and go up the inside of the Lamborghini. Incredible stuff. Max Payne was sold a dummy. Jan Climbs is through.
Certainly is, and what a great move that was. And with the Soul Lamborghini out there, still in the top 12, is still great to see. But great move by Climbs, and making up that next position.
Well, I've not seen anybody cheer for Orlean today, but maybe we'll see that now with that move, because that was incredible. Leader of the race in Gregory Ivanov in the 406 is in the pit lane. The last cars to come in. We had, up until season 6 of the GT Sprint Challenge, seen a lot of cars favor pitting as late as possible. We have not seen that this season. They've been coming in almost exclusively around the halfway point in the race. So it's a nice smattering around the halfway point, sometimes 10 minutes before, sometimes 10 minutes after. And today was no different. We had the first pitters around the 37-minute mark, and of course we conclude pit stops with 25 minutes to go. This should shuffle Grady and Macaulay back through, and it should shuffle these two back to 4th and 5th place respectively. This is a huge pass for Honora Rose, or excuse me, Honora Rose is not involved with this, excuse me. This is Merrils and Verstappen going at it. It's a huge pass for the podium, I should say, between those two. Here comes Ivanov out of the pit lane. He will cycle just in front of these.
That is a great call, and obviously that's put them up into those podium positions, and what a great pit stop that must have been. And it's great to see. And I honestly thought that Verstappen in the 747 there, the Bentley on the previous lap, actually was going for a stunt move with the air that they got off that secondary chicane. It was incredible.
Well, Ivanov did his job. He followed Hugo Merrils for the better part of the first half of the race. Didn't flinch, didn't make a single issue for himself or anyone else. And, well, he's converted the overcut into a position. P3 for Ivanov, Hugo down to 4th, Verstappen 5th, Rose, who is 6 seconds behind Verstappen, which means that only about 6.5 seconds behind Hugo and Ivanov. So yes, absolutely has gained a little bit of time. It would have been an 8.1 second gap earlier. It's certainly less than that now. But the question is there enough time on the clock to maybe get a podium here?
Certainly is. There's 23 minutes, well, over 23 minutes to go. And it's just great to see, isn't it, Jesse? You know, you've got the top five there spread over what looks like probably just over 5 seconds. I mean, that's great to see. With 23 minutes left to go, it's great. And yeah, like you said, if Enor can whittle that gap down as well, we could even have a six-way fight to the end. And you know, it's anyone's win at the moment.
Sean Clark in chat says that I just realized there's no Merc in this race. So there was. Judah Savalainen entered a Merc, as he usually does into these championships, but he has since retired the car. So there will be a Merc on the results page, but it will unfortunately be a DNF, an early DNF from Savalainen. He got himself a 5-second penalty, then a drive-through for track limits, and then a stop-and-go 30. And at that point, Savalainen decided that it wasn't worth it to continue under the circumstances.
And you know, it's Zolder at its best, isn't it? It's unfortunately taking some victims here, and you know, with five cars having to retire because of instances, it's more than likely, you know, through those chicane sections, it's showing it's taking its toll.
Yeah, it's a frustrating feeling for sure, having your race taken out of your hands like that. And that's not the backfire from the Bentley you saw there. No, that is the headlights of Joe McCauley's Audi on the back of Martin Grady again. Martin Grady says, nope, defiantly, I am taking the defensive line into turn one. And if you are brave enough, I dare you to go down the inside. Joe McCauley thinks about it.
He certainly does, but unfortunately isn't able to make that pass. And but some clever driving as predicted from Mr. Grady there, and you know, keeping that first place and track position importantly. And as we go into this fast right-hander, it can be quite tricky. If you just clip that inside curve a bit too much, it could really send you flying. But nicely taken by the both of them there as they fight down into the chicane.
Very close stuff here. 21 minutes, 21 and a half minutes is a long old time to have to defend. We'll see if Martin Grady can stand up to the task. We've seen Grady defend for his life before. Silverstone a few seasons ago comes to mind. See if he can do that today against Joe McCauley, who is looking like champion-elect here today. Christoph Verstappen here back in P5, looking to get by Hugo Merles for P number 4. Keep in mind, just in front of them, I believe you will still be able to see, camera pans around the other way, a Gregory Ivanov, though that gap has expanded to 1+ second now, as Ivanov has taken sole control of the third place position.
He has, hasn't he? And just eking that gap out a little bit while these two battle it out for P4. And we can also see an Rose in the background as well now, and coming into the picture. And you'll probably just see there we go, as we just see the pink BMW come over the brow of the crest of the hill there, and as these two battle out or continue to battle out round to the next lap.
Ooh, I think Ivanov got a bit of the dirt there.
Oh, he looked like it, didn't he? Look, it was got a bit of off-roading in the Bentley.
You've done such a good job so far, Gregory. Don't ruin it now by going off track. And I'm sure you've experienced this here. Sometimes you hit the dirt here and it just pulls you off the racetrack.
Doesn't, but it also invites you. It looks like it's safe to run, but as soon as you dip that wheel in, it really drags you over, and you just got to be so cautious. And as we see the Bentley of Verstappen there in 747 really getting some air.
Well, 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 everybody giving it everything they have here at the end of the season. This is the season finale, of course, and there we showed you the points. They're so very close for so many of these positions. A lot of ties in some of the places, and 1 or 2 points separating the vast majority of the top 20. And don't think that just because you're not winning the championship, or you're not even on the final top 3, that final points position doesn't matter to these drivers. It's a point of pride to do as well as you possibly can, to be able to say, I did this. And that is super important, as Joe McCauley has come into the pit lane.
Oh, he's got the drive-through. That's got to be for track limits. So, yeah, it's been confirmed. It's for track limits. And oh my word, that's unbelievable. We knew it was coming. One of them was going to get it. They were trying to. He was just pushed too hard, and unfortunately, yeah, he's just taken a bit too much off track. Well, he's done it 4 times to get the drive-through, obviously, but yeah, he just pushed a bit too hard, and that's Joe out of the fight for the win.
Well, how it all changes in a blink of an eye. Joe McCauley, how hard was he pushing? Pushing hard enough to get 3 track limits. And on the 4th time asking, it has been a drive-through. Luckily, was able to serve that immediately. Luckily or not, it doesn't matter. Will come out in P7. That's behind Ben Keys. Actually, no. I just saw Ben Keys go through, but the timing and scoring hasn't updated, I don't think. We'll see where he actually ends up. Well, the timing and scoring, while it sorts itself out, we will sort ourselves out. Christoph Verstappen continuing to try and get by Hugo for the P3 slot now. That has moved Ivanov up into P2, and that will light a fire back under Verstappen. Not that he needed to be lit again, considering every position is so critical at this venture, but P3 does have a better ring to it than 4th.
It certainly does, doesn't it? And I'm just looking now, Jesse, and rubbing my hands together and thinking, come on, Ivanov. Come on, we predicted this. Come on, let's do it for the team.
Oh, hey, listen, we didn't pick Joe. That's not our fault. Joe did that to himself. We picked Ivanov. Our driver's still in the hunt here. I like it.
Yeah, certainly is. And come on, do it for the commentators.
Make us sound smart for once. You can do it. You can do it. Just give us this one thing. But Verstappen continuing to fight Hugo. Hugo gets such a good sector 1, and I feel like Verstappen has a better sector 2 and 3 maybe. And it keeps going in and out. Hugo, by the way, has not let go of Ivanov for P2. That red car that you can see up in the distance, the red and white car, that's Ivanov. That's P2 in the race. Ivanov, though, oh my goodness, Les, is catching Martin Grady.
He certainly is, and I just wonder if Martin's just backed off a little bit. But we're on board here with Verstappen, and he really is taking it to the limit, and he's getting a lot of air over those curves. But importantly, it must be so close to track limits. I just wonder, how many track limits he's got left to sort of pursue. But yeah, it's great to see, isn't it, Jesse? And let's hope we can get that commentator curse off our backs.
Listen, if we can fix this for ourselves and everybody else, that would be great. I was correct in my original assumption that Joe McCauley was going to come out behind Ben Keys. And, well, this is your proof. This is the splitter cam of McCauley's Audi looking at the back of Ben Keys' 904 GTR. What a story this car has been this season. It's had some fantastic runs. Ben Keys has more often than not lived inside the top 10. Some of the results are not indicative of how well Ben has ran in that car, but a fan favorite surely. From the very first race, there's always been people in chat going, is that a GTR in the top 10? And yes, it has been. And still today, keeping with that tradition, Ben Keys giving this old car a fantastic drive. No longer BOP'd inside the GT Challenge Series. It has its own proprietary BOP, but Joe McCauley going around taking P7 away from Ben, but a well-orchestrated pass there, and a little flash of the 4 ways, hazard lights from Joe back to Ben. That's Joe's way of saying, thank you for being respectful. Thank you for racing me clean. Have a nice race, and you love to see that.
I was going to say, total respect there between the two drivers, and unfortunately for Ben, he just got a little bit tail happy there on the exit of turn 1, and then lost his momentum and just conceded the position, I think, really. But I think Tidge has woken up. I think he seems to have sort of equaled that gap, and he has realised there is a threat behind. It's not just Joe that can battle out with him, and yeah, he's sort of picked up the pace a little bit by the looks of things anyway, and sort of keeping that gap around about 2.5 seconds. So with less than 15 minutes to go now, he's got to be feeling good about himself, but equally under pressure.
Wolf Motorsport in chat's just given me an interesting tidbit I'm going to bring up to the race admin for Night Owl. Night Owl, for those of you that are uninitiated, is the night that RCI lets its hair down. We have a little fun with that broadcast. It's not that we don't take it as seriously. It's just we have a little bit more fun with it. It's after the watershed, of course, and we go to town on that. And I think next season I'm going to try and talk race admin into giving a point to the car that has the most unfortunate spin or catches the most air. We're going to turn it into an X Games style event, maybe. I'm just kidding, of course, but how crazy would that be? Here on the Friday Champ, though, I don't have official word on when signups for the next Friday Champ are open. I hope somebody slips me that piece of paper before the end of the race today. But in the here and now, Macaulay's incident has led to Ivanov's gain. 2.4 seconds. It is still coming down. It's not coming down at nearly the rate that it was previous.
It's we're being reliably informed by our great broadcaster Stewie that Mr. Grady is setting some extremely quick lap times of his own, and two of his best so far, and that hence why that gap is staying around about the same sort of time. Although I say that as he crosses the line, Ivanov has managed to close down another 4/10 there. So Ivanov must be putting in some good times as well, and it's Joe's still got that fastest lap. I don't know if that's going to be broken now, with these tyres being very second-hand at this point of the race. But no, with just under 30 minutes to go, it's still looking great, isn't it?
Something has massively gone wrong with Ben Keys. That GTR has retired from the race. We just saw them a moment ago. There didn't seem to be any drama for the 904, but that car has retired in the late going. Martin Grady goes big style over the curb and nearly loses it. Take a look at this.
Takes that second cut. Wow, on two wheels, a great start. I think he was listening into the broadcast, Jesse, and what you were saying about maybe some extra points for a bit of air.
Wow, that was heart in your throat time for Martin Grady. Almost threw it away. 1.6 seconds the gap now. Back to Ivanov in P2.
He is getting closed down, and I think Martin must be getting a little bit, well, he's certainly got a brown parcel on that seat, I think, right now after those curves. But to see the time come down to 1.6, that's again, typical momentum lost through that chicane, and Ivanov really pushing now to he's seeing there's that chance of a win here, and fair play. It's on, isn't it? It's on.
No, it's absolutely on. Joe Macaulay is looking to gain more spots, might get to P6 by the end of the race. Jan Climbs, who's had a somewhat quiet race, we'll call it, back in P9, has Mazzola in front of him in the 116 BMW. That for P8. Some of you will be interested to know what the championship points look like. We told you the scenario at the beginning of the race today, but just for reiteration, yes, Honor Rose is second in the championship. Yes, she is in front of Joe Macaulay, but not by nearly enough. And do keep in mind, Macaulay still has the Speed Juice Fastest Lap of the Race award, so that's additional points in Macaulay's favor. Rose would need to finish somewhere on the upper part of the podium. Macaulay would have needed to have finished outside the top 15 or so to make that a reality. So even with Macaulay having his issues today, it does not and has not to this point jeopardized his championship. Now, if he falls out of the race in DNFs right now, then I'll recalculate the points. But until that happens, everything is steady as she goes for the 123 FFS Racing driver. Climbs continuing to hound Mazzola for P8. Ivanov continuing to take time off of Grady. 3/10 that time.
Yeah, 3/10 indeed. And it's you're saying about Climbs there. I mean, as he comes through that chicane previous, really did lose the back end there and lost a bit of time. But great to see they're still battling and able to catch up to Mazzola. And with 10 minutes remaining, that you can easily be done. And we see Ivanov now even closing the gap down even more now, down to 1.2 seconds. And it's all about we got Ivanov battling for the lead, and we've also got Verstappen battling for a podium position as well, with being only just over a second behind Merles.
It's all coming back together. It always seems to do this here on RCI TV. It gets spread apart in the middle part of the race when strategy comes into play, but it always comes back together at the end, and thus it is here today. The track has cooled off by a single degree. That won't matter too awful much in the grand scheme of things. 9.5 minutes to play, and a checkered flag and a couple of trophies and hardware to hand out in a few minutes time. Ivanov less than a second away from Grady now, 3/4 of a second back, and another 3 to 4/10 off of the lead. Ivanov is going to get there.
He certainly is, and as we watch them now coming in this last sector, coming up to the last chicane before they cross that start-finish line, and we'll see what the gap is relative. And as they go over the line now, we're going to see it down to yes, another attempt taken out. So the carrot is there, isn't it? The carrot's dangling, and Ivanov is desperate to take that commentator's curse off our backs, Jesse.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. I would never bet against Martin Grady, otherwise he'd break my legs. But I will tell you, if Ivanov gets past him, I might buy a lottery ticket tonight, Les.
I wouldn't blame you because we all know what Grady's is capable of, and you know, it's certainly one thing is pressure, and you know, he might well be within a second, but we know that Tidge can deal with the pressure, and he knows he's just got to hit those marks, and he loses a bit more time there through the chicane, and Ivanov's right up the back of him now.
Ivanov looking down the inside. It will become the outside, maybe trying to fake him out a little bit. Can't do it. Falls back in line. Maybe a little bit of a touch between Grady and Ivanov as they come through the second chicane. Oh, and a touch here. Ibiata is going to make a forceful overtake here on Max Payne. Max Payne will not appreciate that. Being sent to the dirt on the exit of turn one. Ivanov backs off a little bit, maybe had to back off a little bit after being so very close to making the pass and making contact. Will reset. How long will it take? It took McCauley the better part of a lap to catch back up. I don't think with the speed Ivanov has, it will take him nearly that long.
Really don't, and it's clear to see now. It really is clear to see that all the time that Ivanov is making up is through that first chicane, and Pidge is really struggling through that chicane. I don't know whether he's changed his line or whether the setup has just allowed the tyres to just go off and he isn't able to get the grip or the traction out of that chicane. But certainly Ivanov can, and you know, you can see through this first sector that Grady's really able to eke it out a little bit there. And but I'll tell you one thing I have noticed: if Verstappen can get past Merles in the Ferrari, it'll be an all Bentley podium.
It sure would be, and that's unusual that we see one manufacturer dominate any given race, let alone here. It's usually a mixed bag for sure, but that would be incredible. I'm pretty sure of all Bentley podium here would, well, that probably would be the first time I've ever seen one manufacturer take all three top spots. I could be wrong about that. Mercedes, back in its heyday in the beginning of 2021, they might have put 3 Mercedes here all on the podium. So I'll stop short of confirming that, but the 406 has caught him back up, but not quite as quickly as I thought it was going to be. It just goes to show you, when you catch up and you take one shot, Les, you get that one shot, and it takes a long time to reload.
Look at that. You know, it's in that last chicane, it's really closed the gap, and it's clearly down to who's going to make that mistake and who will be able to win this race. You know, well, sorry, who doesn't make the mistake, should we say, is probably going to win this race. And as they come now into turn two, as they come, we've got Ivanov let's go around the outside of Tidge now, and there's a slight touch on the outside of this corner as they go to the curb, and it's back round to the next.
Ivanov tried to go around the outside. He tried to hang it around there. There was not, maybe a little bit of contact, probably, off of the side of the car, and that's all it took to put Ivanov right behind Grady again. 5 minutes left to play. You know you're only going to get a few more shots at it. Big leap over the curb by Grady. Now you got to wonder, and you have to worry for Martin Grady about how many of these might be giving track limits. Look at this. Monster truck over the curbs, and that could be doing damage as well.
I think we should call that HMS Grady from now on. I mean, that really did a leap, and it certainly looked like it was a boat going over those curves. But no, it's great stuff. And as we go on now for you know, another lap, and it's great to see us now. I mean, we've got third and fourth just behind them as well, and it only takes one of these two just to make a mistake, and you know, you could even be that these two don't even finish on the podium. This is how close it is. It's great to see. Last race of the season with 5 minutes left to go. It's brilliant.
Well, let's reset. 4.5 left to go in the race, in the season. A race for the win here today. A race for P3. Hugo, who lost third place to Ivanov, has gotten third place back by virtue of McCauley having the drive-through penalty, but it isn't that easy. Hugo has a new challenger for P3 in Verstappen. The 747 NSN Bentley has caught him. So racing for the win and for P3. Oh, I can barely take it.
hardly see Ivanov on that straight in that camera angle. He was so close up the back of Grady there as we go into this horrible
Oh,
chicane. Oh,
he almost loses it. Martin Grady goes big style over the curb, almost loses it. Around the outside goes Ivanov. Will he have the overlap? He might do. Maybe a little bit of a touch. Clean into the chicane, and he's done it. Gregory Ivanov has taken the lead of the race in the final 4 minutes.
brilliant stuff, Jesse. And like you said, a little tiny bit of contact, but great respect by both drivers. And unfortunately, I think Grady just he conceded that he made the mistake, and he had to just let them go into that chicane. And Ivanov takes the lead. And with 3 minutes left to go, TJ's just got to say to himself, I can still win this.
Martin Grady has gotten so lucky over the turn 1 curb, or excuse me, the first chicane curb, pretty much like that. Simon Mazzola doing the same exact thing. This might cost him a spot to Jan climbs behind. Going down the inside, can't quite squeeze the Porsche in there. Still might get side by side, but no. Mazzola goes ahead and clears that position again. But my goodness, Grady had went so big over that curb, and finally it bit him a little bit. Ivanov got long enough beside. How many times today, the third or fourth time that we've seen, where that outside pass, because if you can hang it around the outside of that turn, obviously the second chicane is in your favor. Ivanov had a couple of swings at it, and on the third time asking, gets the pass done.
Certainly did, and it really looks like that Ivanov really was quicker than Grady at this time of the race. And as we see a drive-through now, we see a drive-through for the Ferrari, Jesse.
Oh no, Hugo Merrill's the 13 Ferrari has been so good today, has hung on to third place. Everyone else around him has made some mistakes, but not Hugo. But unfortunately, a little less than 2 minutes to go, a drive-through penalty. Now, here's the interesting thing. It doesn't matter. Hugo can serve that drive-through penalty before the end of the race, but you get 3 laps to serve it. This race will be over before that time, so if you do not serve that, it will be converted into a time penalty. He can elect to do either. If he wants to race Verstappen for a point of pride, it won't matter as he comes in, but it wouldn't have mattered either way because Verstappen would have been credited with the spot. But yeah, Hugo comes in regardless.
Sorry, Jesse, sorry. I just hope he hasn't sped there on the entrance pit lane. He did look like he was squirreling on the brakes, and I just hope he hasn't oversped on the entrance and given himself another penalty. But we'll soon find out, I suppose, as he comes down halfway down the pit lane. But it's such a long, lowly drive when you've got that drive through. And yeah, it's unfortunately, penalties are penalties, and you just got to serve him, and he hasn't sped through pit lane, and he's served his penalty, and he comes out probably in P7.
You know how we were bragging about calling the race, Ivanov coming back to win it and all that stuff? Well, I just read in chat, Sean Clark apparently said that the pass for the lead would be made in turn 8 and 9. I scrolled up. Sean was absolutely right. It did. Not only did it happen in turn 8 or 9, he definitely predicted that some 10 minutes before it actually happened. Joe McCauley still battling for a top 5 finishing spot today. He could get it if he gets by Riccatelli in the 8:01, but he's going to have to do it this lap. The leaders are coming to the final chicane to get the checkered flag. Ladies and gentlemen, what a season, what a race it has been, and it comes down to this. Gregory Ivanov in the 406 will come to the line and win. No, he's not going to win. 1 second. He crossed the line with 1 second. Oh my goodness.
I mean, obviously, it looked like they were going to finish the race, but, like 1 second left to go. He couldn't afford to let off the throttle because Martin Grady was right there, ready to pounce, and he couldn't afford to.
I hope they have enough fuel.
That's a very good point, Jesse. Very good point indeed, and we'll have to wait and see, I suppose. But also, that's another lap where we could potentially get a drive-through for track limits. We don't know how close they are to these track limits. There's Joe now looking at the outside, round turn 1. Doesn't quite make it. Maybe looking for the cutback, the switcheroo as they call it, and going around the outside again, around turn 2 into turn 3, and does he get the move done? Not quite. He's going to battle him all the way.
He's still there.
Battle him all the way, and this is a fast turn to be trying to take it around the outside. And fair play to
Joe
gets sideways.
My goodness, Joe McCauley, he almost very nearly did a rare overtake, the under over. You usually see the over under, but that's the under over maneuver. Very nearly got that to come off. Didn't almost span himself, but in the end, everything ends up line astern. But I just hope everybody does have enough fuel because that was a shock to me. I thought surely he was going to let off and coast to the line. He just needed a second. Didn't really have a second, like you said, but this time asking Gregory Ivanov does win the final race of the GT Sprint Challenge Season 6 here at Zolder. What a fantastic race it was. Martin Grady P2. Christoph Verstappen will finish in third. We do get an I almost called it boat, an all Bentley podium. Honor Rose will come home in fourth place. And I don't know what's happening behind them. Riccatelli. Oh, Riccatelli and McCauley's off. Hugo Merrils is going to come through for P5.
I think Joe's going to wait for Riccatelli to come through to give that position back. I firmly believe as we watch the replay now, they come on the exit of the final chicane, and unfortunately Joe just catches the Porsche there and turns Riccatelli round, and I think Joe's going to wait for him to pass.
My goodness. High drama here at the finish of the race. The results confirmed. Ivanov, Grady, Verstappen, your top three. All Bentley podium. Rose Merrill's your top five. Riccatelli, McCauley, Mazzola, Climbs, Payne, your top 10. Bill and Jack, Atta, and Rimbald are your finishers today. And I can pretty much confirm, as you have already assumed yourself at home, Joe McCauley is your Season 6 GT Sprint Challenge champion.
And congratulations to him too, and what a crazy last race to see him take that championship, and not as if there was no drama for him himself either, and even though unfortunately we did have quite a few retirements due to the nature of this track, it was still a great race nonetheless.
Just a few other things that occurred. A warning for the 505 and a 5-second penalty for the 505 late into the race were the only other reports that we had. They were inconsequential to the results. Now, I wonder, the stewards will be probably paying attention to that last lap incident with McCauley. But my goodness, fantastic race we saw here today. We called Ivanov to win, and it actually happened, which means that we have proved undoubtedly commentator's curse isn't a real thing, surely.
No, it doesn't appear so, does it? And thankfully he's done that for us, where we've been able to get rid of that curse, and it's great to see someone else on that podium as well, or the top step of the podium. And like I said, it was a great race. It was a crazy race, but it was a great race. And as we saw, Honor Rose finishing P4 as well, managed to make those positions back up and claw those positions back. And okay, some of them were due through some penalties ahead, but nonetheless, great race by all drivers, and well respected.
Well, let's talk to Honor Rose, who is the runner-up in this championship campaign, but a brilliant fight nonetheless. Another impressive top five. Battled back through adversity at a tough place to do it, Rose. Tell us about how your day went from your perspective.
So runner-up, that Joe getting a drive-through wasn't enough, I guess. Oh man, I was hoping it would be, but didn't have much show. But yeah, the race though, yeah, at the beginning it seemed like a few people let the hill wave get to their head. It seemed like to me, was quite dicey, yeah. Then I managed to get back some places, and then some penalties ensued. So yeah, here I am, P4.
Well, it was a brilliant run, and it was going to be an uphill battle after the early contact. Any comment about that early contact?
I'm not even sure, honestly, that there were many.
Keep it clean, I was going to say.
Yeah.
No, it was a great race, Honor, and I just got a question for you, if that's okay. I just wanted to know, at the start of the race, just obviously, I know you had the contact. I know, obviously, unfortunately, you lost a few positions, and we noticed that obviously the pace wasn't quite there at the start. I just wanted to know what was happening there.
At the start, when it was defending, attacking, if I remember right, someone moving under braking. So yeah, you have to compensate for that, to not run into them. But that drops the pace as well. Then because you're not up to pace, the pressures don't get where they should be. And yeah, it just adds up and adds up until you're finally in free air and you can run where you be.
Thank you, Hanoi. And then, like you said, as you're now telling us, with the pressures came up, you then started to set those quicker lap times, and you made those positions back up. But yeah, great race, Hanoi. Thank you.
Mm, thank you. Before
Ladies and
going,
gentlemen,
I have one question. Hypothetically, had I won this race with Joe where he finished right now, how close would it be?
it would have been incredibly close, Rose. It would have been, I think, 10, maybe 12 points, something like that, maybe
Ah,
15.
still not enough then. Well then.
No, he would have, Joe would have had to have had a very un Macaulay like race for it to
Yeah,
have went the other way, but it was
not as
always
much.
possible. Congratulations, though, Rose. Fantastic second place in the championship, a win on the season. Job done. Congratulations. Hope we see you next season.
Thank you.
Well, moving on from second place in the championship to first in the race today, Gregory Ivanov wins the race out of nowhere and had to do it the hard way in the end. Ivanov, tell us how your race went from your perspective because that looked fun.
Oh, yeah, good evening, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Um, the qualifying was not really good for me. I kind of hoped for better, but at the start and in the first laps, I was just trying not to crash everyone. Almost did, but not.
Talk us through it a little bit. You're not in a podium spot initially. You're fighting for third place, and then all of a sudden Joe McCauley gets an issue, and then you're the next person in line, and you're catching Martin Grady by several tenths a lap. Like at some point, you must realize we have the best shot to win this race.
Oh, yeah. I was, yes, I was catching him, but I was also I was making mistakes, many mistakes. But he did mistakes too. So I catched him, and that was last move was kind of optimistic, but in dangerous, but it worked. So, I'm glad that it
Well,
worked.
I will say it was a fantastic season because we had 6 races, 6 different winners. We picked you to win the race, by the way, Les and I. We picked you to win the race, and people would have probably thought we were crazy halfway into the race. We had a lovely chatter who called your move, and you ended up were able to make it happen and get the win today. Congratulations, Gregory Ivanov, winning the final race of season 6 here in the GT Challenge. Well, moving from the winner of the race, how about we talk to the winner of the championship? Joe McCauley, might as well call him Joe McCooley, grace under pressure today. Joe, you've won a race this season. You only needed to win one of them. Ice water in your veins, a lot of podium finishes. Today, though, had to work for it.
Yep, that was. I absolutely hate this track. And being in the Audi, it's just every time you touch the chicane, it wants to go sideways, or it wants to be on its side. So I pretty much knew I was going to get a drive through. I just had to try and. Well, my plan was to try and get first before that happened, but as you saw, that didn't go.
We were wondering up here in the booth, Joe, if when you caught Tidge, would you have moved him out of the way to win this race?
Absolutely.
That's my boy. That's what I wanted to hear.
I was very close to doing it until I got the drive through.
How did I guess that was going to be the answer, Jesse and Joe? I just thought that was coming. That's great stuff, Joe. And, great race. Unfortunately, getting that drive through in the end, but it was a great race. It was great spectacle, and thank you.
My pleasure. Other than
Joe,
the drive through.
let's talk about the championship real quick. You are the champion confirmed. You had a big lead, but a couple of weeks ago that wasn't the case. You were in a fight with Rose Caracas. even Albin Bouquet, Savalainen as well for a large part of the season. Were you ever concerned about points? Is that something you care about throughout the course of the season, or is that just do you put that out of your mind and just try to finish as best you can every single?
Uh, to be honest, I didn't really think about it until last race at Paul Ricard, and somehow I managed to get second like every race before Oulton Park. So I was
This
trying to like
race
continue that streak.
this season was nuts. It wasn't just this race. We had 6 different winners in 6 different weeks. There it was all up and down, up in the air. And without that win last week, it would have been very close. You were super consistent throughout the entire season. Today is your only finish off of the overall podium, but just an incredible amount of consistency won you this championship, and very much well done to you.
Thank you very much.
Uh, I got one more for him, Les. I don't know if you have anything to add on the end, but Joe, are you gonna come back and do it to him again?
Uh, it depends how hot summer gets, because I don't have any fans, and we don't have air conditioning in Scotland, and sim racing is very sweaty.
Anybody you want to shout out to, or anything you want to say?
No, not really.
Les, over to you.
I was going to say, Joe, is congratulations on the overall championship win, and yeah, it's been some great racing, and like Jesse's already alluded to, consistency has won you this championship. Obviously, some great finishes too, and to say thank you for a great season.
Anytime. Thanks for the congratulations.
I do think as part of the winner for this championship, I think maybe we should possibly send Joe a pillow for just how laid back he really is.
Oh, he's Joe McCooley after all. But ladies and gentlemen, your champion of season 6 of the GT Sprint Challenge, Joe McCauley. Fantastic job.
Thank you, thank you. Woo!
That- he's a live wire, we promise. He's just playing nice for the cameras. We do appreciate that, Joe. But it's been a fantastic season. We had 6 different winners. We had a lot of people coming in and out of the box as well. Les, thank you for bookending the season with me, of course. And here's to the next one. I would say, if it's anything like this season, well, it's going to be unpredictable.
Certainly is. Every season it throws something new into the pot, and no, it was a great season, like you've already said, and congratulations to Joe again, and then let's see what the next championship brings on our next Friday championship. So yeah, great, Jesse, thank you.
Well, we're done here for the championship and the season, but there will be the normal mid-summer antics that RCI always gets up to. That usually incorporates a mini series for all of our regular weekly scheduled racing, and Friday is no different. There'll be a 3-race mini series starting on July 1st. You can go to racerci.com and find all the information about how to sign up for that. There's many other championships still in progress. The British Masters Championship on Monday, and of course the GT4 and Touring Car multi-class races on Thursday, and Night Owl as well on Saturday night. For more information about how to sign up mid-season for those races and get involved with those series, go to our website, racerci.com. You can sign up mid-season for any of our current championships, whatever tickles your fancy, really. We'd love to have you on the track. Don't worry about skill level. We have a split for you no matter what your mastery of ACC is. Les Stevenson, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. Well, yeah, I mean, again, a great race to finish the season. A fantastic win there for Ivanov, and thankfully he's taken that horrible weight off our shoulders to say that that's commentator's curse. But yeah, congratulations to them, and congratulations to everyone in the championship, and thank you for bringing us a great championship. But for me and Jesse and Stewie to broadcast, but also for all our viewers. But yeah, it was a great season, and I can't wait for the next.
Well, we'll be back sometime after the summer for the next actual GT Sprint Challenge season. In the meantime, we'll be doing some of the mini series over the latter portion of the summer. So we hope to see you there. Before we go, a big thanks to all of our partners here that make this race and every race possible. RaceDepartment.com, your source of sim racing news and information. AK Informatica for providing our server solutions. Fanatec and Fanatec.com. You can use our affiliate link when making purchases of quality sim racing hardware. At Fanatec.com, it doesn't cost you a thing, and it tells them that we sent you. It helps us with things like server cost when you use it. Of course, Driver61 and Driver61.com. You can get 25% off your driver coaching by going to Driver61.com and using our discount code in the description of this video. Driver coaching can make you a better sim racing driver. It's worked for a lot of the admins here at RCI. The proof is in the lap times. I've seen the lap times. And of course, simracing.gp. If you're tired of pub racing or can't get enough sim racing in your life, join a community on simracing.gp. Obviously, sign up. And of course, signing up is free to do. Get racing today on simracing.gp. Folks, we had 6 different winners in 6 different races. That's all I can really say about this championship. That has never been done before here on the Friday Champ. There was absolute parity throughout the field, but today Ivanov won the battle. Joe McCauley won the war. Fantastic season on top of that, and of course, big thank you to everyone here that makes the broadcast possible, our admin team, and of course, our lovely stewards as well. And until then, until next time, have a good night.